Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. I am your host, Hal Richards, and I have really been looking forward to this show today. We have an amazing guest on. Her name is Nafeesah, and it has taken me probably 5 minutes to get that name figured out so I could say it correctly. Nafeesah, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us today.
Thank you for giving me this platform to be able to tell my story.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So, listeners, what the caption of this story is, and you're going to understand why as we get into this show, it's Speak Your Truth, even if your voice shakes. And I love that title so flippin' much because so many guests have come on our show to tell their stories for the very first time. I'm one of them, right? My own podcast, we've had guests come on and share theirs, and I finally started sharing mine back in January, just the beginning of this year. So we people need to know the truth. They need to know what's happening out there. I don't want to take all of Nafeesah's time. So Nafeesah, tell our audience a little bit more about yourself.
Um, well, I am a mother of three, four grandchildren. I work in a mental health field, and I'm also a certified nursing assistant, and I'm just out here doing the best that I can with what I have.
Wow. Now, where is out here?
Philadelphia, born and raised in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Lived a couple of other places, but always wound up coming back home. So North
That's what seems to
Philadelphia.
be what happens, huh? I lived out of high school. I lived in Colorado for a little bit, working construction. Then went to Phoenix, St. George, Utah, back to Salt Lake. Worked for a manufacturing company. Spent 3 years in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Back to Salt Lake,
Oh,
and
wow.
this is where I am staying because my wife and I have five beautiful grandkids. One we don't see because yeah, we won't get into that story. However, we've got four other just amazing grandkids, and it is so fun to be a grandparent. It's
It
amazing,
is. It
right?
is. It's totally different than being a parent because
Yeah.
grandkids, they can do no wrong. Grandkids can do no wrong whatsoever. It's, it's
Yep, yep.
yes,
That you nailed it. They cannot do any wrong, and even if they do, we justify it with something, right?
yes, yes. All the time.
Yeah, all the time. When the grandkids when they come over here, if their mom brings dinner with them, it's ice cream first, then we eat dinner.
Of course.
Yeah, right, and it's okay because it's good for them. Now, when
Yes,
our
it
kids
is.
were growing up, that's not good for you. You have to
No.
have dinner first.
Yeah.
So, Nafeesah, my gosh, I just wanna say thank you to Sylvia for connecting us.
Yes.
Sylvia is the one that put us together, and you and I was chatting through email here and there a little bit, and I was already starting to feel like I've known you for a while, right? Because of the communication, and I love meeting people and I love hearing their stories. And you've got a story to tell that no parent wants to tell.
Yeah.
Do you want to go there a little bit and we'll just kind of go from there and see what happens?
Yeah, we can do that. We can start.
Okay.
Um, so all right. My daughter, Fatima, um, she was my youngest, the youngest of three. My twin in every aspect of the word. Looked exactly like me, act exactly like me, which drove me absolutely crazy. I wanted to go back to my grandmama and apologize for how I was, because now I was getting a taste of my own medicine. Um, she was very unique. She had her own sense of style. She purposely wore high water jeans, like that was her thing. She always wore like a flower headband. Because we have big foreheads. I gave her my forehead. So she always wore like the cutest flower headbands or some type of headband. And she was always with me. Wherever I went, she was there. Um, she did have a medical condition that she got diagnosed with at the age of 6, and it would follow her through the rest of her life. and she had to have an operation for it, and it was a heavy burden for a child to have to carry. So she already had that going against her. Her father wasn't really in her life, so that was an issue for her. And as she got older, it weighed on her. It affected her in a great deal, even though her relationship with her father got better towards the end of his life. Um, but so 2020, um, my baby came to me. She was 15 at the time. And she came to me December 6th, 2020. I'm sorry, 2019. She came to me December 6th, 2019. And she told me she was pregnant at 15. And of course, me being a teenage mom, this was the last thing I wanted for her, because it's not easy being a teenage mom. But being as though she's my daughter, I would support her with whatever she wanted. And she decided she wanted to keep the baby. And I'm like, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. So when the pandemic hit, in 2020, I think that was March when everything shut down.
Yeah, yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so she was about 9 months pregnant, and her father passed away March 7th of 2020. Um, my grandson was born April 26th, and she was the best mom. I mean, for her to, she was still, even though she got pregnant, she was still very much kid-like. She was still playing Roblox, some other game they play online. I had no idea that she was even pregnant, because she's asking me for Robux and you're pregnant, but whatever. Like, okay. So anyway, my grandson was born April 26, 2020. She started going to parenting classes. She nursed him. She was doing very good with him. However, she was going through postpartum depression. She was dealing with that because the pandemic shut the schools down. The baby was in daycare, but with her father passing, the pandemic shutting everything down, and being a new mom at such a young age, it affected her. It affected her. So she had support. So fast forward to March 2021 now. My birthday was March 3rd. She baked me a cake. It's the first time she ever did that, because she didn't cook anything. So how she baked the cake, I have no idea. And
Google.
it was cute. Like, she had strawberries on top of it. It was a half a cake. I was thankful. I was
Right.
thankful. So March 4th came, and she asked me if she could go to a friend's house. And this friend is somebody that she's always been, like, her and the baby go there all the time. It's people that I trust. So she was like, can you watch the baby while I go and over to my friend's house? And I'm like, okay, cool, no problem, go ahead. So this is around 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. My grandson, his name is Zaid. So Zaid and I go to sleep. And I wake up, it's around midnight, and I'm like, where's Fatimah? Where is she at? So I'm calling her phone. I'm not getting an answer. I called the mom of whose house she said that she was going to be at, and they're like, no, she's not here. And I'm like, what's going on? So immediately I called. So I know that you don't have to wait 24 or 48 hours when someone's missing. So as soon as I figured that she was missing, I didn't know what the case was. I went and filed a missing persons report. I put her picture on social media and saying, hey, I don't know where my daughter is. If y'all see her, let me know. So word of mouth got back to her, and she called me and said, I'm at a friend's house. And I'm like, well, where in the world could you be that's keeping you away from your son? So over the next few days, she opened up to me about a lot. She never came back home, but we were in communication, and she was just telling me how she feels like a bad parent to Zayd because his father wasn't involved in his life. How much she missed her dad, and she felt like her dad never really truly loved her. because he was absent in her life and she didn't want that for her son. She talked about her medical condition, which she felt like she would have for the rest of her life, which she probably would. And she was saying the whole theme throughout the time that she was going was, I just want to have fun with my friends. And I kept telling her, baby, these can't be your friends if they know that you have a child and they're not telling you to come home. And so from March 4th to March 9th, we talked and she kept saying, I'm gonna come home, I'm gonna come home. And you know, children these days, they do some silly things. She will post on Instagram and her close friends where only certain people could see what she's posting, what was going on. And her friend, her real friend, the one whose house she was supposed to be at, sent it to me. And she was in a trap house. Now, what a trap house is where they sell drugs out of. It's a legal house, like where they sell drugs out of. I don't know exactly what else goes on there, but they were partying, they were drinking, smoking weed and everything, doing stuff that kids their age do, doing things that at my age I did. I wasn't in a trap house, but you know, I was drinking and having fun and experimenting with different things.
Yeah.
However, on March 9th, at 4:44 a.m., I received a call. While Fatima was at the house, she went and got one of her friends that she knew. They trauma bonded. They both were teenage moms. Their fathers weren't in their life. So that's how their friendship formed, from that trauma. She went and she retrieved the young lady and took the young lady to the house that they were all staying at. So the young lady called Fatima's real friend, and she called me and told me that the EMT were working on Fatima because she took something and they didn't know what she took. My oldest daughter, Dream, at the time, because backpedal a little bit, she has an iPhone. We all have iPhones, so you know you could track your phone.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of times we went to the block that she was on, but it wasn't giving us the exact house. So my daughter went to the block. She went to the house a couple of times, but it wasn't the right house. So now that the EMT are there, she's like, I'm going around to the house because she said, I'm going to the block because if they're there, I'll see what house they're in. So they already, I found out later, they had to revive her twice in the house. When my daughter got there, they finally put her on the ambulance, and she's crying and she's like, why aren't they taking her? Why are they still here? So in my mind, I knew it wasn't going to be good because they already had to revive her twice.
Yeah.
So they tell us what hospital she's going to, St. Christopher's Hospital. And my husband at the time drives me, my grandson, and my daughter to the hospital. I go in, I tell him my name, I'm telling who I'm there for. Because at first they didn't know her name. And I get to the back and she's in like the biggest room. And I'm like, and it's all these doctors and nurses and like over 20 people in there. And in my head, I'm like, no, that's not my daughter. Like, they're not working on my daughter. Like, she's in a regular room. She doesn't need all of this. And they take me to that room where everybody is in. And I see my baby laying on the table. And I'm sitting across from her and I'm just watching them. And I remember them asking me, did I also have a 12-year-old, because they found a 12-year-old in the house as well. So I don't know if it was a runaway house that she was in or what, but it was some underage, it was a lot of underage children there. Anyway, as I'm sitting watching them work on her, the head doctor from the ICU comes down. And when she kneels in front of me, I'm like, this can't be good because I know body language. And I was looking at her as she kneeled down in front of me, and I'm just like, what is it? Like what? What do you have to tell me? And she says that her she has high toxicity levels in her blood. She was out for a long time and there's little brain activity. At that moment, her heart stopped again. So the biggest guy now, the field that I work in, I have to be trained for CPR. So you press down. What's the song? Staying alive, staying alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to see it in person, somebody resuscitating, like the biggest man jumped on their table and was pressing on my baby, and I lost it. I started screaming, stop, get off of her, even though I know in my head that they're trying to save her. But to see your child go through something traumatic like that, I know like a couple of her bones had to be broken, but they were able to bring her back. They brought her back and they got her stable enough to go upstairs. So when we get upstairs, they asked me, they sent me to another room because they wanted to clean her up. They wanted to take the makeup off of her. She was still alive at the time, but they just wanted her to look presentable for me. And to this day, I never had any interactions with that hospital, but the staff, I love them. I love them and I appreciate them. So when I was talking to the doctor in the room while I was waiting to go back to see my baby, I told them at this point she's a DNR, because the third time of having to bring her back with little brain activity, I couldn't be selfish and keep her here for me, because what would the quality of life be if she was to survive? So when I went in the room, they noted her as a DNR. My daughter, her father, my oldest daughter Dream and her father were there. My husband was there. And we were all in a room with Fatimah and just sitting waiting, just waiting to see something. I don't know. I don't know. But I keep seeing a doctor come in and out, and he's looking at something and then going out. So after like the second time, I'm like, what's going on? What's going on with my baby? Tell me something, because I see the concern. They said, well, there's little to no brain activity and her heart is deteriorating. So now I have to make a decision. Do I keep her on life support for selfish reasons, or do I let her go? She's 16. Like, how do you make that type of decision for your child when you don't expect to bury your child? You expect your children to bury you. So I said, okay, let's say if she was to survive, even though I knew the answer, what's the quality of life? Is this, I'm saying this to myself, like, what's the quality of life? Even though I know what it would be, nothing. There would be no quality. She would just be there for what? So I said, okay, well, I don't want her on life support. Like, just stop it. So they said, okay. and they asked if I wanted, they have child life services to come and make handprints and hand molds of her hand for us. So I said, yeah. So they came down and they were just like so gentle with her. And they did everything to comfort her, like they put warming blankets on her to keep her warm. And they made the hand molds. And for her son, because they did handprints as well. So it's like the hand are vertical, but for his and hers, they did a horizontal one, whereas though it's her handprint and he could put his handprint. Um, so after that, they took her off life support. And my daughter and I, my oldest daughter, Dream, and I went over to her and I told her that she doesn't have to worry, that Zay will be fine and that we're going to take care of him and he's going to be loved. And then I loved her so much and I wasn't upset with her and I wasn't mad at her. And I told her she could let go. And she stayed for about a good 25, 30 minutes. And at 10:45 a.m. that morning, the same day, her heart stopped. And the doctor came in and I asked, was she going? And he said, yeah. And I fell to the ground and my husband came and he picked me up. And I just wanted to leave. I didn't want to talk to any doctors. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just left and all I wanted was my grandson. He was all that I wanted. So we went to the daycare. We picked him up, brought him home. Now he's 10 months at the time. He's 10 months. And I'm sitting on the floor because we just moved here. So I didn't really have any furniture. And I'm sitting on the floor with my grandson and my husband is cleaning up the house, like sweeping. And for the first time, my grandson gets up and walks. And I just I laughed because I'm like, really? Like the irony of it, the irony of it. Like, I just lost your mom. And at the time when I was the lowest of all lows, my kid, I call him my kid, and he's my kid. My kid just gets up and walks. And I needed that. I really needed that at the time. And so in our faith in Islam, we try to bury our people within 3 days. So that happened March 9th. On March 12th, she was buried. Now, before we bury our dead, we wash their bodies. So I washed my baby's body. And I had a ton of support there with me. Her grandmother, her sister, my stepdaughter, my daughter, my sister, my friend, a very, very close friends of mine were all there with me to support me because I said, nobody else can do this but me. And I'm thankful that I was strong enough to get through it. And then we buried my baby, and that was March 12th.
Oh man. You know, Nafeesah, I'm I'm over here on the other side with tears in my eyes. You know, I couldn't imagine the pain and the heartache, you know, and you even mentioned that your heart stopped, you know. because it's not supposed to happen this way. And especially for someone so young and so beautiful who had their whole life ahead of them, right? Not to be able to experience a lot of things that we have been able to experience, whether they're good or bad, because that's all part of our learning process, right? We have to have both. We can't just have all good. We have to have both so we can grow and become stronger as individuals. And for something to happen like this that really so senseless, you know, it's happening way, way too much out there. And there are a lot of really good organizations now that are really starting to pop up because of other parents like yourself who have to bury a child over something that's so freaking senseless and just crazy. Because I did the same. I experimented with things.
Yeah.
We didn't have to worry about someone putting something in it to poison us.
Mm.
And it's happening now intentionally, and nothing's happening. And
Nothing.
I believe this is why you talk about speak your truth, even if your voice shakes, because your voice is shaking by telling the story, rightly so. Rightly so. And the more people that get out there and start doing this, there are people that are starting to listen, right?
Mm.
It's starting to listen, and there's some things we won't get into it because we know where it needs to start,
Mhm.
right? However, there becomes more and more of us.
Mhm.
People are going to start paying attention, and unfortunately, it has to happen that way. Just unfortunately,
Mm.
So yeah, while you were telling your story, I was just wiping tears from my eyes because I'm picturing. I have two beautiful daughters, and I'm just picturing me being in the room like you were. You painted the picture so vividly, and I'm just like, I'd lose it. I would flip and lose it. Knowing me, I would probably head to that house and I would be looking for. I'd be like, you point this SOB out, or
Yeah.
however
Yeah.
many of them there are, because
Yeah.
I would be shaking. I literally would be shaking. And I'm sure that crossed your mind as well.
So not only that, the young lady um that was with her, I found out was responsible.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, but because, nothing can be proven and she took the pill, nothing can be done legally. So I've had some pretty dark thoughts. I intentionally do not drive by the house that she was at, because I don't know what I would do. And I have to be here for my grandson. I have to be here for him. So yes, I have had very dark thoughts about that house and that young lady, but because I know my grandson needs me, I don't entertain them. And it's a good thing because any grieving parent will want revenge in a worse way for their child. Justifiably so, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because who are you to take my child from me? We are supposed to learn from our mistakes, not die from them. We're supposed to, like you said, we experiment in things and it's an experience. Um, but for you to do something so harmful that it took her away from people, she was deeply loved. So many people loved her. There were so many people at her funeral. Like I didn't even expect that many people to be there. Um, so yeah, it was pretty dark for a while. But what I've come to terms with is that when you do ugly things to ugly people, something is going to happen to you. And I don't have to be the one to do it.
Yeah.
So if it's in this life or the next life, I'm okay with that. I have to be okay with that for my sanity. I have to be okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have to agree with you. As hard as it would be, right? I mean, definitely it would definitely be hard, and you have to kind of leave it, well, not kind of. I mean, you don't have to. However, that's the right thing for us to do is leave it up to a higher power, however you look at it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because we all have our own different ways of looking at a higher power, and it's okay as long as
yeah.
you believe in a higher power. That's all that matters. Doesn't matter how you look at it. Or
Mm-mm.
yeah, and I love the part where you're there on the floor with your grandson. It's, to me, this is how I was picturing it, Nafeesah. You just lost your daughter. It's like I'm visioning her spirit going into her son, and her son standing up for her in her place. For it to happen that exact same day, not too long after the fact,
Right.
it's like, I'm with you, right? Here I am, and we're going to stand up, and you're going to go through your life, and I'm still going to be a part of it.
I like that. I like that. I like that a lot. I've never looked at it like that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's just how I was picturing it when you were saying it. I was visioning it, everything, just watching her come in, and there you go, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is I love shows like this, but also at the same time they're hard to go through,
Yeah.
because of the emotions that happen. There's days that when we had our studio, since we're in the middle of a studio change, when we had our studio, there's times I'd leave the studio, and literally I'd get home and I'd be just totally emotionally drained.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and it's just because of the stories of people, and you're hearing their past, and and I'm not saying this because I still don't know your daughter personally. And we've said, matter of fact, we said it on a show, I think, last week, about addiction doesn't discriminate, and this poisoning doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care who you are,
It
what
does.
you are, the color of your skin, your religion, your finance situation. It's affecting all of us.
Yep.
And this beautiful lady I had on our show this morning, we were talking about the stigma of things, right? And
Yes.
to
Yes.
me, to me, they're using addicts as the scapegoat, just like the Sackler family did with the Oxycontin when the Oxycontin started killing people. They're like,
Mhm.
well, it's not our product. We'll just blame the addicts, right? It's the addicts misusing it. When really it was the product that was getting them hooked,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And that's how I'm seeing all this is, yeah. Now I don't even know which. Oh, I was just talking with this beautiful young lady this morning about it, and it's a stigma that needs to end,
Mhm.
because I've I've heard people say it's not the fentanyl, if they wouldn't be taking this stuff in the first place. Well, people are taking things that are supposed to be normal.
Yep.
This fentanyl's not supposed to be in it.
Mm.
Period. Case
Mm.
closed. And
Mm.
it's happening. We had someone here just last year who lost a son who is on Xanax, and he
Mm.
ran out, and the doctor wouldn't fill it because he still had a couple weeks before he could fill it. So he went online and he
Yep.
bought some, took one pill, lost his life over just something so innocent, right? Taking something that he's prescribed to take, but still, it's tough.
It really is. And I actually, not only that stigma, the stigma that is only them issue and not a us issue, meaning the African American community. Um, it's highly stigmatized, and I know a few people who have lost loved ones to it, but because of the reputation and the stigma on fentanyl, they don't want to, understandably and justifiably so, they're not ready to speak their truth. They're not ready to tell their story. And for a while, I was that way too. I didn't like, only certain people knew. I didn't know it was fentanyl. I had an inclination that it was that, and I wasn't sure until I actually called and got the report that it was fentanyl. But for a while, I was silent because of the shame that's attached to it when there shouldn't be any shame.
Yeah.
Because this is exactly what it is, a poisoning. Our loved ones didn't intentionally say, hey, give me that. I know it has fentanyl in it. I know it might kill me, but hey, who cares? I want to feel whatever I need to feel, or I'm in pain and I need to get rid of this pain. Because I too know someone whose son ran out of his pain medication, and somebody that he knew hooked him up with somebody that sold the same type of pills, and it had fentanyl in it. And now he's gone because he was just looking for relief from pain.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that. They think is, and I was calling it fentanyl overdose too until I became educated. And they were like, no, it's poisoning because your child didn't know what they were taking. And the stigma in the African American community is just like, it's not going to stop until we talk to our children and our loved ones about it, because it's not a them issue, it's a us issue. It's a
Amen.
everybody issue. Everyone. And now that Julio and Michael, the actors and the performer, now that it's come out that this is what they passed away from, now it's like, oh my goodness. Yes, this is real. Yes, it can happen to anyone, like you said, of any race, any social class, any religion, any, it's a human, it's a humanistic problem.
Yep.
And as soon as we can understand the severity of it and the consequences of it, it only takes one time. And, you know, I'm very vocal about it now, and I post my story. And you have some pretty ugly people out there, because people will say something like, well, she should have knew better. How? How should she have known better when I didn't know to talk to her about this.
Yeah.
So I never had that conversation with her. Don't take, because in my mind, not my child. So many of us parents who have lost our children thought, not my child. And it is my child. It happened to my child. So now through her story, I'm trying to save your child, because it can be your child. But people say some really mean and nasty things. And I'm like, I pray you never experience the loss of your mother, your sister, your anybody to this. Because once you do, then you'll feel what I feel, and you'll regret it. You'll regret not having that talk, even though you didn't think it was a necessary talk. I never thought that my child would take a pill, nonetheless one that would kill her. So
Well, she didn't either, right? I mean,
no,
I mean,
she didn't. She
we've
thought she
had,
was having fun with friends.
right. We've had people on our show who have overdosed a couple times and luckily have come out of it. And they've said, we didn't get high to overdose. We don't want to die. Right?
Yeah,
You don't do it intentionally. Now, some may do it to commit suicide, but
yeah,
very, very few
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And for those people, even if there's listeners that hear this story right now and you're thinking that she should have known better, go back and look at your own life, right?
Yeah.
How many things have you done where you went, "Ah, I
I
should
should
have
have done
known better. I shouldn't have done that," right? I call it you should on yourself, right?
it.
You should on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
We all do it.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
single one of us. There's
Yeah.
not one exception. If we lined 1,000 people up, I bet you all 1,000 would say, I did something I should have known better to do,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
So again, I don't understand why people can be so flippin', I don't want to say evil. Let's just say ignorant. Just
Ignorant.
ignorant, just flat
Very.
ass ignorant and not understanding. And you said something that was so key to this conversation. You're using your voice in hopes to save someone else, right? That's why we do this show, in hopes to save someone else. That's why we have people like yourself, in hopes it'll save one individual. Because if it does, it was worth saying it. And it
Yeah.
was worth doing it.
I posted a video. I'm always posting some type of awareness videos with my daughter in it. And a 16-year-old female commented and said, I'm 16 years old. I promise I'm going to be more careful. That gave me, like, that just warmed my heart because I'm like, there's one.
Right.
There, there's one. And then somebody else said, another young person that went to school with her was like, I know her. Like, I'm sorry this happened. I'm not doing anything. I was like, there's two. And I was just, it was like the best feeling because that's why all of us do this, to bring awareness, to let it know it can happen to anyone. Let's save your babies.
Yeah.
Let's save your babies. Let's save your loved ones because they deserve a chance. We all do. My baby didn't get a chance to be the veterinarian that she wanted to be, but maybe yours can grow up and be the heart doctor or anything that they want to be. And that's the reason why I do what I do.
Amen. There are so many stories that I've heard where something tragic, like what's happened to you and your family. And then down the road, you see it's almost like springtime, right? We go through seasons to get rid of the old and for something new to come. And even though winter can be very dark
Mm-hmm.
and dreary, there's really no color other than possibly some snow, but then the snow gets all ugly because of the pollution or the plowing. Spring comes and everywhere you look, it's all beauty, right? It's just flowers everywhere. The trees have flowers. The flowers are flowering. I mean, the grass is turning green. It goes to show how something bad can turn into something beautiful. And you
Yeah.
see it so many times. That's what started this podcast. That's what started you going out and sharing things on social media, because we want people to hear it. And it's people who have a love for one another, right? Doesn't
Yeah.
matter where you come from, what your background is. It's people loving other people because we all have a heart. If I
Mm-hmm.
cut myself, I'm going to bleed red just like you are. There's no difference in it. And to be able to go out there and take something that was so tragic
Yeah.
and say, hey, I'm here, especially for another parent, right? My
Yeah.
gosh, to reach
Yeah.
out to you, Nafeesah, and go, I didn't think, like you said, I didn't think it was going to be my baby, and it was. What have you done to help yourself get through this? Because I am really struggling right now. Now you're the strength.
Yeah.
You're that person now to help another one.
Yeah. I will say, I've met some amazing people through this that I have called when I needed help because I know that they get it. I know that I can say certain things to them and they'll understand and they won't get worried or fear that I'm going to do something irrational. No. So I'm glad that they have me and I have them because we need each other. This is a club that I never wanted to be a part of, but now that I'm here, I'm glad that I have the supports that I've had. I'm in so many different Facebook groups for support with this. I know I have numbers. I went to DC last September for a rally. I met some amazing moms, made some network I was able to network with some people to be able to get my story out there. Support is definitely needed because things get really dark for us. And this will either break you or make you stronger. Thankfully, it's made me stronger. It also sent me on a path of healing. I needed some things within myself that I needed to heal, and my daughter's passing lit a fire to that. Like, okay, it's time for me to get myself together so that I'm able to help others, because I can't help others if I'm not healed.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of healing to do to be able to get here. So I like the analogy that you use with her death. Now all of these beautiful things are blossoming from it, like the seasons. And that's exactly how I feel about that.
Yeah. Yeah, some good things. And also, like you said, you've got a lot of healing and you are starting to heal, right?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and I hope our listeners understand this because no matter what happens in your life, whether that's the path we chose before we became human on this beautiful planet that we've been blessed to be on, right? There's so much more into it that we don't see. There
yeah.
is so much more. And it's even like when my wife was in the depth of her addiction and I had been working on myself after my addiction, which entered back in 2009, and seeing all the mistakes that I made. And then also, it helped me look inside myself a lot deeper and go, am I this individual that I think I am? And I found out I wasn't. I wasn't even close,
Yeah.
and the door slammed in my face so fast when I realized it, and I was in shock. And my wife's addiction and me losing my job of 24 years back in 2009 has put us on this long journey. Now she's a certified peer support specialist. So now she's helping people in
Oh
her
my.
addiction, right? Are you? So yeah,
Yes.
right. So it's just so cool to see where things are going. And I, like you, who see messages from other individuals. I've had people say, thank you for the show. You've given me a whole new perspective on this, right?
Yeah,
It opened their eyes a little bit more, and they're doing the same for me.
yeah,
They are healing me, and we've joked about Thursdays that I call it Therapy Thursday. One of these times I'm going to do an episode where I'm going to be laying on a couch doing an interview because they're helping me too, right? It's healing for me and it's educating me and it's helping me put my hand out there. I'm not certified. I'm no specialist. I'm not a professional in addiction. However, I got a lot more tools in my tool pouch now.
yes,
And
yeah.
if there is a tool I don't have, I have you and I have other people I can go, I have someone that you need to connect with because they know exactly what you're going through and they can help you in your journey.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
so cool, right? It's
it
the
really is.
blessings that are coming out of it, of something bad, and tragedy, there we go. Tragedy is still there.
Yeah.
The hurt is still there, the loss, the pain, but there's also
Hope.
feel good and hope. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some smell good there. I guess that's a way of putting it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I'm sure you guys will be doing everything you can
Yeah.
for um for the grandson, right? To
Yeah.
make sure, and I really do believe just the story you said of him just standing up and walking. I just and this is just my belief. I believe your daughter's inside him already and
Mhm.
is going to start walking him through an amazing path, and I don't think I'm going to be wrong on it. That's what I just see and that's what I believe and I'm going to stay with it. you know and I hope here 5, 6 years down the road, or somehow we stay connected and we're able
Yeah.
to share stories again of where things are at. Because we've had a few guests on a couple times where they had only been in their recovery journey for about 6 months, and we've had them back after they've hit a year and have them come on and talk about where their life's at and what they're experiencing. And we've not had one yet come on and say, "Oh, my life went backwards." Every one of
Mhm.
them, their life has just excelled and went forward.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, and they're helping so many other people just like you are.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. My gosh, is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners?
Um, well, so Fatima was supposed to be graduating this June from high school. So now the thing about it is when we moved to the house that I'm in, her school is literally 3 blocks away, and Zayd's daycare is about 4 doors down from her school. So that's how close her school is. I've never thought to ask, hey, do y'all do anything for your deceased students? But something said, give them a call and find out and see if they would do anything. And sure enough, I called on a Tuesday, Wednesday morning. A woman called back and said, hey, yeah, we're here for you. We have a shirt, we have our cap and gown, and we have tickets for you for the graduation. Send us some pictures because unfortunately they do have another student that they have to do the same for that was lost to gun violence. Um, but so yeah, I'll be going to my baby's graduation June 12th.
Oh
I'm
my
looking.
gosh, how cool is that?
Yeah, and I'm not going to be strong enough to walk across the stage, but I will have my son, my daughter, and her son walk across the stage to get her diploma for her. So I'm looking
Wow.
forward to that.
Oh my gosh, that I
Mm.
tip my hat off to the school for doing that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Really good school. Cause I didn't know what to expect, but I wasn't expecting that. And with such a quick response, like they were here to support me. I felt supported in that moment. So
Yeah.
definitely looking forward to that.
See, it just goes to show we don't believe in watching the media in our home. We don't
Yeah,
watch it,
no,
right?
I don't either.
It goes to show how much good is out there in our world, because
Still,
there is a ton of it, really, there is.
yeah, there is.
And unfortunately TV is programming us to think all there is evil and bad, and we have to rely on Big Brother to take care of us, when no, we've got each other to take care of.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, that is so cool to hear. I just can't imagine how emotional that day will be, but also how much joy there will be too, right?
Yes, yes. So much of the day that they called and told me that whole Wednesday, I was emotional. Tears of joy, tears of sadness, tears of joy. It was just a back and forth emotional roller coaster, but I'm definitely looking forward to June 12th.
Yeah, good for you. That is so cool.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you would like to share, Nafisa?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
So to everyone listening, please, please, please have this conversation. It's a very uncomfortable conversation to have with your loved one, with your children, your nieces, your nephews, your godchildren, your brothers, your sisters, your parents, because we're losing everyone to this. Please have the conversation about fentanyl and the dangers of it and how it's in everything and how you don't even need to ingest it. It's that powerful. You can just inhale the fumes and just be around it. You can just touch and it takes, so please look up that's another thing. Look up the lethal amount of fentanyl and it's going to blow your mind how little it takes to kill someone. But the conversation definitely needs to happen today, constantly, a constant reminder. Use my story. Almost everyone nowadays knows somebody who's passed away from this. Use their story. Go online. There are so many articles about it. There's no willful ignorance is not acceptable. Yeah.
That is great information. Uh, please, whatever you have, links to your stuff, I can even look that up and find the link, all right? Find some links on that. Whatever information that you think is important, please make sure you email that to me, Nafeesah,
Okay.
because I would like to put it on the notes for the caption.
Okay.
Because, there could be someone who, when this show airs, who you have may just touch their life and they want to get a hold of you. And this is what this is about, right? Is that connection to help one another. And so
Yeah.
we definitely want to make sure we have all that information so people know how to find you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to throw out there?
Just thank you for this platform. I really appreciate it. This is my first time. It went better than I thought it would be. I thought I would be stuttering over my words, but I really appreciate you and I really appreciate what you're doing for all of us. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much. And you were so welcome, and you killed it. I mean, really, you did. You did amazing for your first time. We like to joke around sometimes, like first time listener, first time caller, right? And you did. And I have to say thank you for what you are doing, because
Yeah.
you are making a difference as well, right? You even gave a couple examples during the show. So you are making a difference, and you got a couple people thinking just a little bit more about, someone's offers me this. I don't know. Yeah, it could even be a cigarette, right? Someone could offer
Yeah.
you a cigarette that
Anything.
has fentanyl in it. So just be careful. And
Yeah.
and sometimes maybe it's something that someone gave to them and they don't even know.
Yeah.
You just have
Yep.
you have no clue, right?
You don't know.
No clue at all. All right. Well, Nafeesah, thank you again so much for your time, and it was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today, and a blessing. It's a blessing to have you in my life. And
Thank you.
that's what I love doing these shows, because I get to meet some amazing, amazing individuals, and they become part of my family, and they just become friends. And some of us really stay connected, others we might not hear from one another for a few months, and then someone will reach out, and it means so much to me and to all of us, right? It's just, even my wife made a comment a couple months ago. She's like, the network of people that you are building, is just amazing. And I'm like, I know, right? And they're all just incredible people. I don't think there's one person in the 150 plus shows that we've done where I'm like, no, I don't want to talk to them anymore. It's like, heck yeah, let's chat. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, again, thank you to all our listeners. Thank you to all our sponsors who have made this all possible. Thank you to all our guests like Nafeesah, and thank you to all our guest co-hosts that come on the show. Hopefully we'll have a studio here soon. But hey, I've got a background today. That's a plus. We didn't have that last week, so I'm educated. I'm getting a little more educated on things. So thank you guys. Thank you to Resilience Talk Network for all the stuff that they do, and again, just thank you to everyone for making all this possible. And I don't ever think I've even said this, and I really this should be first. I just want to say thank you to God for putting me on this path.
Yes.
Really, he always comes first. Yeah, and it's great to be on this new path that he has put me on, and to be able to do what we do and meet the people that we meet. So thank you so much. We're going to leave you with this, as we do at the end of every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.